Can you tell Doug and I have been doing the show for a while?
Yeah, boy, you guys look real nervous.
Okay, Doug, go. Oh, did you freeze up, Doug? Oh, no.
And now, from somewhere in Fort Collins, Colorado, it's Stuart Yoshida of the OokTown Podcast! Stuart Yoshida and the OokTown Podcast! Yay!
Yay! That's Doug Brown, my co-host. Thank you. And I'm sure you, I don't know if that scared off our guest yet, but...
well, I'm pretty close to being scared off after that.
Yeah. And Kimo, if you ever listen to our show, you'll find out that every introduction is unique. So pretty much Doug never plays the same thing.
Good for you.
Before we bring on our guest, I want to give a shout out to some people. First of all, Rob Mapo, who got me in touch with our guest, and he recently went to Hawaii, and I heard he got more ink for his sleeve. So I hope that all went well, Rob. Big shout out to Cynthia Kinnanen and the Royal City Ukulele Ensemble. They were part of, she's been a regular guest, and they were part of the Hawaii Ukulele Festival. I don't know if you saw that. They look fabulous. And Craig and Sarah for helping run the 51st Ukulele Festival in Hawaii. Yeah, they did an awesome job. Yeah, pretty amazing. Oh, see, Doug, guess what I forgot to do? I forgot to hit record. So I'm gonna have to pull that from YouTube now.
I hear you.
All right. Be that as it may, want to bring on my guest, our first and solo guest today, Kimo Hussey, who has a interesting background, and we'll get into it a little bit about how he got into ukulele. But basically, he retired first, and then he said, "Well, what can I do?" And he said, "Hey, I know how to play the ukulele. That's getting pretty popular." And there you go. Welcome, aloha, and e komo mai. Welcome, Kimo.
Thank you so much.
We were talking before the show, and it's just, you had such an interesting background. You know, you spent a lot of time in the Air Force, and you almost chose to visit our beautiful state of Colorado down in the Springs, but then decided not to. And but did you ever, I'm assuming you have, but have you been down to the Air Force Academy down in Colorado Springs?
Yes. Yes, and it was beautiful there, and it was quite tempting, for me to go there. But the high school that I went to, Kamehameha, at the time was a school for boys, so the boys and the girls were separated. It was also a military academy. So
yeah.
I decided that once I graduated from high school, I wanted to go to school where men and women were in the class at the same time, and I didn't have to wear a uniform every day.
Yeah.
So as much as I was very impressed with the Air Force, Academy, I thought that my education would be best rounded if I went to Southern California and enjoyed the women and beaches there.
Okay. You know, there's a lot of merit to that school of thought. Southern California is very beautiful.
It is.
So where in Southern California did you go?
I went to Occidental College, which is in Eagle Rock, Doug. I went there to study music, specifically choral conducting. I dearly love choirs and church music, and it was the same. College that my high school music teacher went to, and so that's the reason why I ended up there instead of the Air Force Academy.
You know, and we should kind of roll back. You just said something at the beginning of this that caught my ear, which is that you went to Kamehameha, which, you know, for all the mainlanders, that's fairly prestigious. Well, in my mind, it is private school, and you have to have some. Could be a thimbleful, but you still have to have some Native Hawaiian blood in you. So that was probably, it's kind of hard to when you're going there, but in retrospect, what did you think of that experience and how it kind of relates to you picking up the ukulele?
It was probably first and foremost a wonderful education that I got there, and it worked out neat for me to go there because it was in elementary school, and I didn't go to Kamehameha in elementary school, but when I was very young, I realized that I had a real interest in music. And even in elementary school, I was fairly familiar with the ukulele because I started playing the ukulele. Actually, I started playing with the ukulele as a toy when I was, my mom says, when I was 5.
Wow.
So when it came time for me to get back into music like I wanted, it was very easy for me to embrace ukulele. Because just the thought of trying to get back into choral conducting and recruiting people and going to rehearsals just made me tired just thinking about it.
I can understand that.
So Kimo, I was actually the audio engineer for the Parker United Methodist Church for 7 years, and going and miking up the choral, and getting ready for they did a big Messiah every year for
right.
I hear I'm picking up what you're putting down because it's so beautiful, but to do all that preparation is just can be very daunting.
That's correct, and I think the ukulele side of that is one of the wonderful things about ukulele is that it's so easy to embrace. And the most wonderful thing I think about ukulele is that it provides us as ukulele players a very simple methodology of getting into the process of making music. And in order to do that, we don't have to have years and years of practice. We don't have to have years and years of, academics. It's just a matter of sitting down and learning some chords, some simple chords. And then after that, you're able to just right now get into the process of making music and enjoying that, which is the big thing.
Preach it, Kimo. Yes, indeed.
And that is one of the beauties of the ukulele. And it's because it's all in one too. It's a melodic instrument. It's a rhythmic instrument. You can sing along with it. So it's all there. It's all together. And I want to point out that if anyone has ever seen some of Kimo's performances, one of the things I keep hearing from my guests about Kimo Hussey is just those wide, incredible intervals that you do. So, you take something that is easy to play, and then you make it like we watch you, and we go, how is he doing that? So, just to shout out that you got a lot of fans, and they're in awe of your playing.
Well, thank you for that, Stuart. And the message that I would share with you and your audience is that I don't have any more fingers or brains than your people, and the only difference between me and a person who's been playing ukulele for 2 years is that I've been at it longer, which means I've practiced more. Which means I think ultimately that just about everything that I am able to do, another person can do that as well if you just put in the time and effort. One of the wonderful things about about ukulele is there are no standard methodologies in anything that has to do with the ukulele. So if a person prefers to play every day, that's wonderful. If a person prefers to pick up the uke once a week and just noodle for 5 minutes, that's wonderful, because that person is having just as much fun doing that as a person who prefers to play every day. And you know what? The person who prefers not even to practice, but to pick up the ukulele at irregular intervals and just have fun is wonderful. What a wonderful, wonderful thing it is to pursue an interest just because it's fun to do. And
absolutely. And I think one of the things the takeaways that I got listening, watching you, and listening to other performers talk about you is that you kind of went in a unique. You made it your own. You made it your own style, how you approached it, how you played it, and you didn't necessarily go by the standards or what everyone else has done. So I think that's important, that people can understand that. That's the other thing about music and instruments like this, is that you can take it wherever you want it to.
Absolutely.
And use your imagination, use your inspiration.
That's correct. And wherever you want to go is valid.
Yeah. And I'm just, the way people were talking, I kept thinking, oh man, Kimo must have been playing, performing before with people since he was a little kid. But as it turns out, you started your ukulele performing, quote unquote. And I know you're emphasizing the teaching part after you retired. So I think that's another cool inspiration, is like, hey, you can start these things, the second career, if you will, whenever you want to. So that's good on you.
Absolutely. And while you're there, I'll share with you a not so secret. That is, after I had retired and figured out that I wanted to pursue ukulele, one of my first goals was to develop a name, develop notoriety in ukulele. And at the time, Jake was definitely on his way up. So what I decided to do was go opposite the young kids, because with Jake and the young kids like Calais and stuff, those guys like to play fast.
Yeah.
So what I decided to do was play slow. And so
it's good.
And the reason for that is that it made my playing different, but at the same time showed off the versatility of the ukulele. So when they played loud, I played soft. And just went opposite as much as I could. And I'm not too sure if that's the reason why it worked, but it worked.
I think it's a really good, sometimes you can follow the crowd and you can join in and, catch that wave too, right? I think it's also good to say, well, they've pretty much covered that space and they do it well. I mean, I love Jake. I love Calais Gamiao. I love Aldrin Guerrero, all those guys, right? Just kudos to them. And then there's a lot of other space that we can cover. I know I kind of had this epiphany too. I was doing a song. I talked about this on one of the shows, that I was trying to do a ukulele solo in the middle. And, I was thinking, well, do some Jake or something. And it just completely sounded horrible and, pretty lame. And I thought, okay, well, why don't I slow down, which is exactly what you're saying. And then I got a groove, and then it turned out fantastic, or a lot better than what it was when I was trying to be like Jake or someone else. Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
But I think the key in that, and the more public reason for me doing that is to show off the ukulele's versatility, because it's okay to want to play fast, and it's okay. To play the ukulele any way we want, but it's also okay every now and then to become familiar with some of the things that we may not be accustomed to knowing that the ukulele can do. It's just incredible. It's a really versatile instrument that's smarter than all of us put together, because this instrument can play any song that's ever been written. And so the limiting factor is us.
Yeah, it is. It's our imagination, how we approach it.
Right.
I am always constantly amazed at how people can have adopted, songs that may be popular, and we've heard it a million times, and then they put it on the ukulele, and it's like, wow, that's a really different take on that. And it kind of forces you, because it only has 4 strings. It has a narrower, note range.
Right.
And you have to figure out what to do around those limitations. I think that's a wonderful thing. But you know what? We've been having such a great discussion. Do I want to bring this up? Sure. So you okay, the Ukulele Kids Club, you got involved with that. Now, what did you teach them? What was your message for them?
I don't know that I've taught them anything at all, save for embracing their use of the science of music therapy, and blending that with ukulele. Music therapy is something that I've been interested in for decades, and the only reason why I didn't go back to do some courses and get certified as a music therapist is I was too lazy. So
That's good.
I'll freely admit it, because that makes my retirement a lot more enjoyable, when I'm honest.
I hear you. No, I've had plenty of opportunity to get an MBA, and yeah, it's like, wow, do I want to go back to school? I have so many other things that I'd like to do, and yeah, that's just one too many.
Yeah, but one of the things I've been very active in taking certain things about the science of music therapy and applying them to ukulele. But I and some of my friends have a lot of experience working with autistic kids, for example. We worked in a AAA hospital with soldiers. We had PTSD, and in order to cover myself, my friends, and ukulele, I always tell people that I like to operate on the non-clinical side of music therapy, because it's I was pleasantly surprised at the amount of information that I had learned through music therapy that we as musicians and ukulele players we do naturally. It just comes natural. So I love to tell people that we operate on the non-clinical side of music therapy. For example,
so where did that where does some of those intersect? Like, I think you're absolutely right that we intuitively figured out these things, about ukulele. Right. Maybe it's the rhythmic part of it, or the part where we can sing along. Where did those intersect? Did you find out later, from the music therapy?
In my mind, especially from the educational standpoint, the thing to share with us as ukulele players is there's a difference between objective music and subjective music. Objective music means, okay, we learn the chords to a song, and somebody tells us how to make our right hand go like this, and we combine that with the chords, and we put them together in a song. And if we do that, that becomes, in my mind, objective music.
Mm-hmm.
But now, in order to make that song beautiful, what is it that we need to do, because the reason for making a song beautiful and put some subjectivity into it that's what touches us the most. And the good news is there are a lot of objective things that we can do to our music to make it get closer to more subjective, to beautiful music. For example, it's so easy to put in dynamic changes, differences between loud and soft in music, and yet the effect is incredible. And so by doing this, you see, the whole idea is to let the music do the work, as opposed to us thinking that, it's because of us and our playing, that this ukulele produces all this wonderful music that people enjoy. And so the biggest benefits that I have gleaned from the science of music therapy is things like tempo changes, dynamic changes, the difference between loud and soft, choice of music, and just lots of other things that go into making the music beautiful, because it is beautiful music that touches us.
And those things that kind of coincide with this is good therapy also, or those dynamic changes, the tempo, dynamic meaning, loud, and difference between loud and soft, and then the tempo, how fast you're going or how slow, and then just the song itself.
I had always thought that I was playing objective music because people objected when I played. And so this is an entirely different aspect that I can come at this with. That's great.
However, after they objected, they felt better. so
exactly.
It's all positive, Doug.
When they have that huge breath in to yell at me, they're really working their lungs, getting that airflow through them.
And that is part of the therapy. Yes.
Yeah.
So that is great to kind of make that connection. And I do love the Ukulele Kids Club. I did a Ukulele Kids Academy too. And this is where it ties in. I did my, it's a combination that I do of history of Hawaii from early on, and also storytelling. I tell the story of Maui, how he created the islands, and then I just intertwined some songs too. And so it got me thinking about, the Hawaiian ukulele, and just I'm so glad to learn that you went to Kamehameha, because come on, that's as deeper roots as you can get into Hawaiian culture and history. So I want to talk a little bit about that. We have all these old school Hawaiian language songs, which probably, when after the ukulele arrived, and the people in the kingdom there who adopted it, whoever they were, Kalakaua and Liliuokalani. So we have that body of music, and I'm so glad to hear that it's still being taught. But if we wanted to get into that, right, people on the mainland, or if we just have an interest in it, where would you suggest we start? Do we start with Brother Is? Do we, pick up, do a vamp?
I think as a teacher, as an ukulele teacher, the place to start most appropriately is with the student. You gotta ask the student, hey, if you're interested in Hawaiian music, what is it about Hawaiian music that interests you? Hawaiian music, or any kind of music, I think should never be a part of any teacher's idea that what the teacher thinks is best for the student is best for the student. So anyway, I would say the first place to start is with the student. Hey, student, what is it? What is it about Hawaiian music that you enjoy? And then as a teacher, do not ignore that. Make that a principal part of your pedagogy. Beyond that,
Okay. See, so Kumu Hussey, what I want to know, what attracts me so much to the Hawaiian music is the rhythm, because it has such a unique rhythm, and I have such a hard time sometimes just getting that feel, because some people have likened it to Paniola, with the writing, the kind of that gentle, and yet at the same time, there's no, to me, there's no definite, definitely no backbeat as far as I can tell. But
what is a backbeat?
Well, that's the 2 and the 4 is what I would say, and
that's where you kind of go like this into the bass drum with your backside.
Like, right. That's when you get thrown out of the band, though.
Yeah, exactly. I love getting thrown out of the band.
So yeah, I have a hard time even describing how you would even play that. And
right.
What's your, like, is it like just sitting there and listening? And if so, who would I listen to? Who do some of the
I would say initially, what you should listen to are Christian hymns.
Oh, is that right?
Those are readily available, and you can have volumes and volumes to listen to. The reason why I mentioned that is that what we in Hawaii think of as Hawaiian music came to us primarily through hymns, because the only truly ethnic Hawaiian music are chants.
Right.
But anyway, the reason why I would say you start with hymns is that the organization of Hawaiian music follows very, very closely to
wow.
hymns.
I never thought of that.
Are very simple. For example, we're accustomed to saying C, F, and G7, and there's nothing wrong with that. But if we change that, for example, from C, F, and G7 to 1, 4, and a 5, 7 chord, does that make sense to you?
Oh yeah.
If you do that, if you do that now, you can play that song in any key. As long as it's like numbered 1, 4, and 5, 7. Oh, by the way, if you listen to the hymns very carefully, you will notice that most of the chords are 1, 4, and 5, 7 chords. To Hawaiian music, what you add is a 2/7 chord, because if you go from a 2/7 to a 5/7 to a 1, that is what we call in Hawaii a vamp. Is that term familiar to you?
Oh yeah.
Okay,
2-5-1.
Yeah, and Stuart, there is one other exercise that you might try to embrace and see if it has meaning for you. And I'll just go over that real quick. You start counting 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I'm going to put the emphasis on the 2. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now put the emphasis on the 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now what I'm going to do is take each of those and divide them by 2. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Or I can go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2. Now, if I put the emphasis on the and, I get 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and so you see, you can build onto that. And if you do that exercise religiously and then listen very carefully again to the Christian hymns and then to Hawaiian music, you will recognize those rhythmic patterns, because they are not difficult. I think the thing that makes Hawaiian music very, very wonderful and enticing is its simplicity. Hawaiian music finds its beauty in simplicity. One other thing, and that is in learning any song at all, I think to be concerned with lyrics at the beginning is a mistake, because what it does, it just causes us to be looking and thinking of something else other than melody, rhythm, like you mentioned, and the chords. So take a vowel sound. My favorite vowel sound is oo. The sound oo, as in like moon, oo, and use that as opposed to lyrics, because I think you'll find if you take lyrics out of songs that you're learning, because lyrics have nothing to do with sound, take those out, the person will learn the melody faster. The person will learn not only the melody faster, but the transition of changing chords will become a lot better. So often we'll play a chord once or twice, and then we go, oh, okay, I know this song. And so we'll go to the upper left-hand corner of the page and start right in. And if you notice or remember, because I used to do this a lot, when you do that, you stop a lot.
Yeah. Well,
yes.
That is something.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, no, I was just saying, this is like choral music is great, because when I'm learning a song, it's much more important to get the inflection of the melody and where it's going versus actually getting the lyrics. You can add that in later, so that's a really good tip. I mean, yeah.
And I think you'll find later when you do add in the lyrics, it'll come a lot easier.
Yeah, oh yeah. No, I hear you. That makes sense. Oh, especially for Hawaiian music, because if you're not used to the Hawaiian language and the glottal stops and all of the consonants and vowels together, especially, that is going to drive you nuts.
That's correct. So why be concerned about that at the beginning when you're trying to figure out what the melody and the right chords are?
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Well, you've solved all my problems.
Anyway, the answer to your question is listen to hymns.
Listen to hymns. I didn't make that connection. I will. I mean, one of my favorites is Yesu no Koe Kahuhipa, I think it is.
Yeah.
Is that? I love that song.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I'm thinking, there is a lot of that kind of rhythmic elements that I do associate with Hawaiian music. So
yeah, and you guys are also familiar with Kanikapila, Hawaiian hootenannies. So if you listen to those, you will hear similar kinds of harmonies that you hear when you listen to hymns and choirs and groups of people sing hymns. The harmonics, the harmony, I should say, that we use informally in Kanikapila come pretty much exactly from hymns.
Wow. I am going to have a new thing to listen to, because I never associated that together.
Here's what you do, buddy. Listen to it, practice it, and if you really like it, take credit for it and pass it along.
There you go. So when you were growing up, did you have some Hawaiian music inspiration? Because it other than I don't know. There's music that was recorded early on, but I don't know. It was there was some good one. There's the steel guitar with the ukulele. They had some pretty good ones, but it seems to me that when the Hawaiian music renaissance started, with Gabby and those guys, that really turned things around where it was maybe going closer to the roots. What are your thoughts on that? Do you have much?
I really I really appreciated that, and for me being born and raised in Hawaii and developing an interest in music early on and developing that interest through Hawaiian music, I understand what it is you're talking about, and I think that that's a very, very important aspect of Hawaiian music. And the reason why I mention Hawaiian music is that the ukulele renaissance, the specific ukulele renaissance, and Hawaiian music, in my mind, go kind of in opposite directions. And the reason why I mentioned that, oh yeah, absolutely. The reason why I mentioned that is ukulele, as long as I have known it, has always been in the background.
Yes.
Generally, ukuleles have been used more for chalangalang accompaniment than paani, playing a melody, or even having an ukulele solo. As an instrumental, and that in and of itself is not bad. It's just the way it is. But one of the things about the ukulele renaissance is that more and more now people are not. It's not as if they're trying to become solo ukulele players, but they're getting interested in melody. Because in melody, there's certain ways that we as ukulele players can put the melody in the chords we're playing. One is to have somebody else sing the melody. The other is to have maybe another instrumentalist play the melody. And another option is for us as ukulele players to play the melody and the harmony and the chords at the same time. That's the style that I personally embrace because I like that style, and I think the ukulele responds well to that. So that's what I mean by the Hawaiian music renaissance and the ukulele renaissance. Although they're related, they kind of diverge a little bit.
Well, I think you hit on it. That in the the differences between the waves of ukulele popularity, which we always have to remind people that the ukulele never really disappeared in Hawaii. Is mainly more on the world and the mainland, and the one amazing thing about the ukulele is it just keeps expanding.
Absolutely.
Where it's going. I mean, there's an ukulele festival almost every place in the world. I was just watching the international portion of the Hawaii Ukulele Festival. And there is Korea, Japan, Argentina, Brazil, Germany. It's all over the place. It's incredible. It's
absolutely
amazing. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And
I'd like you, Stuart, and Doug and I sometime let's go down to Antarctica and do a ukulele festival down to Antarctica. That would be cool, buddy.
Oh, it'd be cold, all right.
It'd be very cool.
Now, before we go, Kimo, are you very fast? Because I've heard that when you're in Antarctica, you just have to bring somebody slower than you in case you run into a polar bear.
Well, my plan is to send you and Stuart down there first to make sure everything's safe, because the Hawaiians are a dying race, buddy.
We gotta take care of Kimo. That's true.
Amen to that one.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised if someone in Antarctica already brought their ukulele. Someone's going to mention
I
that,
wouldn't
I'll
be
bet.
surprised.
Yeah, people. Let's see. The first man on the moon, right? Neil Armstrong, when he was in isolation there with the other astronauts, they gave him an ukulele. They let him have an ukulele, and that's how he
Cool.
passed the time. Because I think
Yeah.
they had to stay there for like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
That was probably one of the shortest trips to Hawaii anyone ever took. But they took him off the aircraft carrier and they loaded him into a plane, I think, and then they took off somewhere else, wherever. Well, let's see. What else do I have? So, what are some of your old school favorites that you don't have to mention. You already mentioned, I think, a lot of the modern quote unquote ukulele players. There's Kale Gamiao and Jake and Aldrine, and probably a lot of people that I'm not even thinking of. There's so many amazing players in Hawaii, I believe. And what's her name? Doug, help me out.
Taimane Gardner.
Right. And we had Raiatea on, wonderful singer. But who are some of your old school favorites? Do you have
any? I would imagine the number one would have to be my dad.
No kidding. Nice.
My dad was the only ukulele teacher I've ever had. And I'm sorry, my uncle.
Your uncle.
He was the only ukulele teacher I've ever had. And he was the guy who got me started when I was 5.
Wow.
Beyond that, when I was in high school and elementary school, I loved listening to guys like Eddie Bush, professional ukulele player.
Oh, really? Eddie Bush.
Nelson Waikiki, and those like in my generation were the most well-known professional ukulele players because there really weren't that many.
No, there weren't. Not well-known ones. Wow.
I think one of the wonderful things about ukulele presently is what I would, let me make up a word, is its un-Hawaiianization.
Un-Hawaiian, what's that?
Un-Hawaiianization. Which means as much as we appreciate the history of ukulele in Hawaii, and that will never end, let's also recognize that people around the world bring their own interests in music to ukulele. For example, there are a smattering of people, and most of them live outside of Hawaii, who are beginning to play more and more classical music on the ukulele. There are lots of jazz people going on. Ukulele down in Brazil is doing some amazing things with Portuguese music and bossa nova, and all over the world. In one of the festivals I went to in Europe one year, I listened to this ukulele rock band, and the players were Polish. They were all Polish. And
I think they might have had them at the festival. Yeah.
But these bands and ukulele players, they're popping up all over the world.
Yeah.
So at the same time that we appreciate the history of ukulele as it has to do with Hawaii. Thank you very much. At the same, let's also appreciate and encourage. What was that word I invented?
Un-Hawaiianization of ukulele. I think that's going to be the title of the show, by the way. So
that's what Doug does. He un-Hawaiians ukulele, which is great.
Yes,
keep going.
That is great. Yeah, and that is very gracious, especially coming from someone who has deep roots in Hawaii. You got some Hawaiian blood. You went to Kamehameha. So yeah, and I agree. I have to admit, all the music was great at the on the Hawaii Ukulele Festival.
Mhm.
And I loved the song that they did from, I think it was Brazil. The singer was I was like, I love um, the melodies of Brazil,
Right,
and the language too.
right.
It's beautiful. And so that in particular was like, wow, this is one of the best ensembles that I heard. Yeah. And I appreciate you saying that, because that's great. And really, the Hawaiians, to me, were known for adopting, whatever came their way. They knew that the ukulele itself was not from a native, quote unquote, from Hawaii, but then what is, right? Everything is an
Right.
immigrant in Hawaii.
Well, that's a good point. I think another thing that really uh, helped the growth of ukulele in Hawaii. Uh, Two things actually. First of all, Hawaiians loved music,
Hmm.
and number two, a lot of our royalty loved music as well. Some of
Hmm.
them were composers.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah,
so
yeah.
the Hawaiians took to ukulele very quickly. And
Hmm.
if I were a Hawaiian commoner way back when, uh, and and I saw that the royalty, the kings and the queens, were playing ukulele and loving that music, and I had access to that same instrument, I believe I would take that up myself.
That's a really good point. And maybe the royalty were the ones that helped pump up the popularity, because yeah, all those Portuguese
I think
immigrants
I
made
think that
made good
contributed
money.
to it.
I would think so. You see the royalty playing this instrument, and so you go and you want to pick it up, and it is, it was available. They never restricted it. And yeah, those guys made a good living, I guess. Once they got out of the cane fields, they go, you know what, we're going to do something different, because this just ain't cutting it. So
Yeah,
they started making furniture, and then they started making ukuleles, and
right,
that took off.
right.
um, okay, here's a one that I want to get your opinion on.
Uh-oh.
I hear a lot, since you're an educator too, right? I think one of the ways kumus teach, and I'm not saying this is how you teach, but it seems like the old school was, just, you find the teacher, and a lot of times they'll just say, just sit down there, sit and listen, right? Which,
Right.
I think for some people that is a really good way to do it. I would probably, go nuts, because I would not know what I'm hearing. I would
I
have to have
agree.
some guidance, you
Right.
know. So is that still the way they do it, or and what would you suggest? Is there a happy medium here?
Well, that's a tough one, buddy. I may have to take a stand on this one.
Go ahead.
First of all, first of all, in the absence of any kind of teaching pedagogy, to tell a person, okay, you know what, just watch and listen to me, and then after that, go figure this out yourself, is better than nothing at all. But I
Okay.
think, but I think as an educator, that's a horrible way to go,
Okay.
because there's so much that gets mixed, and that that really gets into one of the, in my mind, the biggest challenge that ukulele teachers specifically face, and that is there is no accepted methodology in anything that has to do with ukulele, including how you teach a person to
Mm.
play the instrument. And so the thinking becomes, if anybody like me, I want to be, I want to be an ukulele teacher, and so I need to understand that in order to be a good ukulele teacher, I got to not only be able to play the ukulele, but I got to be able to understand what are the right things I need to know about teaching.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things I'm hoping to build someday is is to present. I guess it would be a curriculum, some form of education, not as the defining,
Mm-hmm.
not as the defining, work and teaching, but one that is backed by years and years of playing, of teaching, of
Mm-hmm.
learning to teach, and interfacing with people who enjoy ukulele. And I think the best way for us to do that, because you and Doug and I are very experienced ukulele people. But one of the things we should never ever forget is whenever you get a brand new ukulele student, or a student who's been playing for, let's say, a month,
Mm-hmm.
let's try to understand what's going on in that ukulele student's mind and heart. I mean, chances are they're very confused because there's this whole aura of ukulele-ness. And the teachers, out of all of this, the teachers are going, okay, concentrate on this or this or this, and that has meaning.
Mm-hmm.
But but as a group, we don't have a defined path that's smooth as like classical instrumentalists do.
Yeah, yeah.
When they learn about music, because
It's I
what we don't want to do is just automatically accept, like, every facet of theory, music theory, as it applies to what we do. So I think the thing you're addressing is great, and the thing we got to do as ukulele teachers is just make sure that at the same time that we address and we know about what we embrace to be good teaching techniques, that at the same time we've got our radar going, to all aspects of, as best we can, what's going on with ukulele.
Yeah, and
And
I think I was going to mention that there's some curriculums that have been developed, and I think the interesting thing is, I think probably in Canada, you probably know James Hill,
yeah,
and his initiative, and they came from using the ukulele in place of other instruments to teach music. So it's kind of more coming from, well, I want to teach you music and the fundamentals of music. And this instrument here is a really great way to do it, because it encompasses all of those things: melody, harmony, rhythm, and allows you to sing and accompany yourself. So
right.
it seems that that's where they're coming from. And what's kind of coming from you that is different in my mind is, okay, well, let's turn it around. And if I want to say, well, I want to specifically, teach ukulele because I think it's a great instrument, just like a violin is a great instrument, maybe there's there'd be a different twist on it. Does that, anyway, that's what I'm getting out of it.
Well, that's a great part of it. But I think the most important thing, from the standpoint of the teacher, is that you don't want, you cannot have just one very grooved methodology.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're doing like a workshop, for example, and you have a person who is very, very experienced in ukulele, and they want to learn, just as an example, jazz.
Mm-hmm.
And you have another person who only chooses to play his ukulele once a week. If he picks up that ukulele and practices for 10 minutes in that once a week, that's great. So
right.
Are you going to use the same methodology for the two? I personally think not.
No, I
agree. I think there's a core that all ukulele teachers can embrace. And in order to define that core, us ukulele teachers, we need to get together more and address things like you're addressing, Stuart. Good for you, buddy. Keep going.
Well, I think we should have a ukulele teachers summit. We can have you. We would have James Hill, Cynthia Kinnunen. And there's probably more that I'm forgetting. But I think coming from both the background of academia, where people have done research on methods of instruction, and I think one of the things that I get from you, which makes me think a lot about my approach, if I ever start teaching again, is that it's got to be customized to that student in particular. And so in the classroom, you have these two kind of difficult things where you got the instructor herself who has to understand a method, and then also on top of that is every student is different, right? Every student is unique. Everyone has different needs and interests and likes. And how do you incorporate that into a standard curriculum, which I think, there is a core to it. And then how do you branch off of that core? I think that's here's what I would say is that, the teacher goes, this student really is more like Jake, so I'm going to send him off to this instructor. Because I just can't see an instructor having all of those, you know what I'm saying?
Well, and I think that's one of the bonuses of living in the time that we do is for one-on-one instruction.
Yeah.
If I wanted to learn clawhammer, I can go and talk to Aaron Kime. And if I wanted to learn some more rocking things, of course, the fantastic selection of videos on Ukulele Underground and Aldrin Guerrero would be the first place that I would go.
Hey, give a shout out to are you speaking of that, Aldrin, are you North Kauai, South Kauai? Where are you at?
Right now I'm in Lihue, and I think I'm moving. I think I'm moving to farther north.
All right,
but it's just wonderful to be on Kauai.
lot different, I would think, than Oahu or something like that. My mom grew up in Waimea, so and she always complained. Her excuse, I could say this because she doesn't listen to my podcast. Her excuse for not being able to read a map was that she said, "Hey, I grew up on Kauai. We didn't need a map. There's only one road around the whole island. It was easy."
That's right. That's right. But
we didn't buy it because she was trying to read a map, and we're in Los Angeles with my sister, and that did not work out, by the way.
And I dearly love being close to the grandkids. It's not
nice.
Too hard to notice that they're getting bigger and faster. I mean, they're getting so fast now that I got to cheat and cut them off at the pass.
So you don't want to take them around polar bears because obviously they would leave you behind. And
exactly.
Well, so just like Antarctica, I'm sending them first.
Well, one of the things that OokTown does the best is our safety moments. And so that's our safety moment today is, if you go to play with the polar bear, bring somebody slower with you. But even better, don't play with the polar bears.
That's a smart thing. Or teach the polar bear to play the ukulele.
That would be a trick. Well, so there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, our ukulele PSA. You know what, Doug? I don't even remember if I said this is Stuart Yoshida, host of the OokTown Podcast. What is going on with me? Where we talk about all things ukulele. So better late than never. There we go.
I think you can cut that back in. It'll be okay.
Maybe I'll have to do that. I think I was so starstruck having Kimo Hussey. We must have mentioned your name at least 3 times on the show because that's how we get people on. And we've been actually mentioning you quite a bit, I think. We would have to have Doug go back and see how many times you were mentioned, but it was a lot. So it's really great to have you.
Thank you for that.
And you know what? The other thing, I was so engrossed in all of that, what you're saying, I forgot to ask, is there any projects, that you're wanting to mention so people can, look up the Kimo Hussey ukulele method or anything like that? Do you have any books, by the way?
No, because I'm still trying to figure out, and I've helped several people write books, but I'm still
Oh,
trying to
really?
figure out if I wrote one, what would be in it. But I do have a special project, and it's a new one that I would love to tell you and your people about. I, along with 5 other ukulele friends, have formed an ukulele group on Facebook, and this ukulele group is called Mana'o Ukulele. Mana'o Ukulele. In Hawaiian, mana'o refers to a person's knowledge, his or her experience, what they know, their frame of reference, their influence, and what we did was to form this group. It's comprised of myself, Sean Yakovone, who's an historical expert and loves vintage ukuleles. And is also an expert on custom ukuleles, how they're built and marketed. Eric Devine, who is one of the most wonderful ukulele builders in the whole universe. Another player teacher whose name is Zanuck Lindsay. He's the best teacher I've ever worked with. And then we have 2 other people. One's name is Grant Keeler. The other is Randy Eisenberg. And so all of the people represent their various knowledge and expertise in various areas of ukulele. And so our mission is to provide education to the ukulele public. One of the wonderful things about Mana'o Ukulele is we have 2 people, Randy and Grant Keeler, and we have assigned their area of interest to be kind of consumer advocates. And their main job is to tell us, who are very experienced in ukulele, is to help us remember and have empathy for what it is to be a beginner in ukulele. That way, the education that we present and share with people is most relevant. On the experience side, the names that I have mentioned are acknowledged to be among the best that there is in ukulele. And if there's anything that we as a group are unable to address, then each of us have our own friends, who are very, very experienced in ukulele, and we go out to do that. So what we do is just look for feedback from the general ukulele public and people who come and join this Mana'o Ukulele group, to talk about anything that they'd like. 2 days ago, we had an interview with a lady who bought a Ziggy model ukulele that was made by Jay Lichty, and so the whole session was about the ukulele, what she liked about it. We talked to Jay, and he shared some building techniques with regard to that, and so our idea is for us to share our Mana'o experience, and we look for people to come to us and share theirs as well, because that's how we learn. The biggest thing about this sharing is that it has not to do with performance as much as it has to do just with education.
I think that's a great idea to have a collective group to think about these things of ukulele education. So I'm thinking, Doug, you might have already found them. Did you find them on Facebook?
I'm sorry?
Did you find the Manao group on Facebook?
No, I
Otherwise-
need the spelling of that, and I was
All
trying
right.
to be super subtle and put it in the private chat, so I didn't seem like
Yeah.
I was sitting here typing in manatee ukulele and not finding anything.
Here, I'm going to give it a shot here.
Go ahead.
Not ukulele.
Well, Stuart, you're doing a great job of making me feel better about my spelling ability.
Don't worry. I do that all the time. I'm not a very I rely a lot on too much on autocorrect, which is why
it's MANAO.
Ooh, I got it right.
With an okina, it's kind of like an apostrophe between the O and the A. Manao.
That I did not get.
If you could send me a link to that, that would be great because I am not finding it. But yeah,
it's on the groups area of Facebook.
I hear
Does
you.
it have the Okino in it? Maybe that's what's screwing it up. So Doug, if you copy from my chat and then put an apostrophe right after the last A, that might do it. Let's see if we have it. While Doug's looking, one last topic, and we'll wrap this up. I always think of because I used to play in a band called Bookum Dano. I think we're semi-retired now, and the guy who started the band started it because he had a really deep interest in the steel guitar, and he's one of the best steel players that I know of, and just amazing. His name's Chris Kennison, so shout out to Chris. And the more I got into it, and with his help, and he showed me that, it seems like the steel guitar was like the Reese's, because it was like the peanut butter to the chocolate. And we don't have that. I don't know if we have that as much anymore. And who's the teacher? He does a lot with it. I'm thinking Daniel Akaka or
with steel guitar, Alan Akaka.
Alan, his father was Daniel.
That's correct.
Senator Akaka.
Yeah. And the senator was my junior high school music teacher. Tells you how old I am.
That's awesome. So Daniel Akaka was your teacher. I didn't know that. That is great. Anyway, so yeah, what are your thoughts on this? We're kind of the steel guitar, for whatever reason, it's still popular, of course, in country music, and slide guitar you can trace it as a direct descendant from the Hawaiian steel guitar, right? But the I don't know. How is that popularity in terms of? I still hear it, but is it still around? What are your thoughts on where it's going with the steel guitar and the ukulele?
I think I think the answer to your question is I think they're headed generally in a wonderful direction. I do feel, though, that in effect, what you're talking about goes well beyond just steel guitar. I think one of the wonderful, wonderful things about ukulele is the sounds that can be created when you combine ukuleles with other instruments. So let me back up just a little bit. And as ukulele teachers, what we do periodically is talk to people about their preferences in sound. And generally, the way that starts with ukulele is the sound of a high G-tuned ukulele as opposed to a low G-tuned ukulele. But it doesn't stop there. There is the sound of a 5-string uke, the sound of a 6-string uke, the sound of an 8-string uke, the sound of a baritone ukulele. So in terms of creating different sounds, it's unlimited. With regard to playing an ensemble, with other instruments. I'm glad you asked, because I have it's one of my favorite pastimes, and I have a lot of experience playing ukulele with one other instrument. For example, I've played ukulele with the steel guitar. I played ukulele with an upright bass. I played ukulele with cello. That's one of my favorite combinations.
Yes,
Ukulele
that
with
is
saxophone.
comes up a lot.
Yeah, ukulele with saxophone, ukulele with flute,
Oh, really?
ukulele with flute. This beautiful sound.
Really? Ukulele with
Yeah,
flute,
because
huh?
one of the things in playing with this, which you guys ought to do, is every now and then you get to pick an instrument that provides what the ukulele doesn't. For example, the ukulele is more percussive instrument, plunk, and the sound doesn't last very long.
Yes.
But if you play with another instrument that has legato, like a violin, that has that has lasting sound. I mean,
and the cello. The cello is so complimentary. I never thought of that. That's probably why it
I
fits
wish
so
I knew
well.
how to play the cello. I played with ukulele and bassoon.
Well, James Hill figured that out, and he married someone that plays the cello. So I think that he got that covered. That's why he. But yeah, I love that.
That was not why he married her, because he loved her, not because she played the cello.
I thought it was
Right?
Come on
cello.
now. Come on now.
Whoa. One of the wonderful things that maybe we as ukulele teachers overlook is the different amount of sounds that an ukulele player can get if he or she just plays and sings with different voices. A woman's voice, a man's voice, a tenor man's voice, a baritone man's voice. I mean, it's just unlimited what we can do. So as much as we love ukulele, one of the things about that is that our growth with ukulele is unlimited and only limited by our own creativity.
Nice.
Awesome.
With that, we will wrap up this show. And Doug, because I screwed up the intro, I don't know if I asked you. So what's going on? You just had a Denver ukulele club.
We just had our first live meeting in a year and a half, and let me tell you, 25 people in Diane's backyard. Playing ukulele. And one of my favorite things to do, you talk about listening to the ukulele, when we're all sitting around in a big circle, taking a moment and walking right out into the center and letting it all just wash over you, which, there's all those germs that are washing over me too, as people are singing at me, but we're outside, so we're probably okay. But I have missed that so much. And it just went really well. But then we also, so that was the third Saturday. We've also added a first Saturday of the month Denver community meeting that is always going to be online, that we're going to be doing Zoom. So all of our international friends and all of our homebound friends, we still have an opportunity to get together and play some ukulele together. And it was so just fantastic. Just really great.
I think that's one of the great things.
I'd love to be a part of that sometime, Doug. It'd be kind of nice to share ukulele with your people and see if we can get them all confused, buddy.
Oh yeah, that would be great. I mean,
that would be awesome.
Somebody who can actually play as opposed to me would be fantastic. That no.
I think that would be great. Because Doug, you're so connected with so many online. But start with the Denver online Zoom community. I think they would go nuts if they knew Kimo Hussey was going to be on. So there you go.
Oh, yeah.
Awesome. All right. So thank you so much, Kimo. I thought this was, I didn't really know I thought we were going to go in one direction and you took it in another, and I love it. So much good stuff on ukulele education. And as we do on every show, we butcher the word aloha because and I know. Oh, the other thing is, did you see my aloha shirt? See, I
I
think
noticed that.
wore that. Yeah, and I do correct everyone. I say this is not a Hawaiian shirt. This is an aloha shirt. And
Good for you. Good for you.
and at the end of every show, we butcher the word aloha by elongating the O and go aloha. So forgive us for that, but
Good for you.
You know better. I try not, I don't try and I'm not a Hawaiian language expert. I know enough to know that I'm
Neither
not
am I.
doing. Hey, you had more Hawaiian language education, I bet you, at Kamehameha than I did growing up in Hawaii, because I took one class. I had one class in Hawaiiana, and we had a big, mean teacher. She was wonderful. I loved her. She taught us how to play ukulele and some Hawaiian language, but that was only one class in elementary school. So.
Well, I'm still working on my English, buddy, especially with words like un-Hawaiianization.
Oh, that is classic. We're gonna put that in our title. So you have
Take credit
made
for
your
it.
mark here.
Tell them you got that from Doug.
Oh, they would believe that. They
no. We can keep that on
on Kimo?
Someone who is Hawaiian, because for goodness sakes,
tell them it's a Coloradan word.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, Kimo, so good to have you on. We've been wanting to have you for a while.
It's been wonderful.
Yeah, same here. So we'll have to have you back sometime. And I hope best of luck with the collective that you're having with the ukulele education. Let us know anytime if you publish a book or whatever. We'll definitely mention it on the show. And as more resources become available, just let us know.
The big thing I'd like for you guys to do is just help as you do to share ukulele. It deserves it.
Absolutely. That's what we've been doing. Yeah, we just passed our 10th anniversary milestone of we've been podcasting about ukulele for 10 years. I don't know how we continue to do that. That's what's astounding to me. We lost Kimo. Hopefully he comes back. Let's see if he comes back. Otherwise, we'll do it ourselves, Doug. And then Kimo won't have to participate in the un-Hawaiianization of the word aloha.
Well, I mean, is that any worse than saying bananas? Or, I don't know.
That's true. That is true. You nailed it there. All right. Doesn't look like he's coming back. All right, Doug, we're going to have to do it ourselves. Do you think we can do this?
Okey-doke. I think I can handle it.
All right. On 3. 1, 2, 3. Aloha. All right. Let me stop this and save it. Save all. And end the. Oh, come on. Uh-oh. Come on. You better not. Oh, good. Whew. End the broadcast. This one is not as